Hey everyone, John here with How to Film Weddings. Today is a different kind of episode. I'm joined with Nick, and we just finished a conversation with a panel just around the subject of the Black community, everything that's going on. We didn't want to do ads or sponsor, we just didn't want to do that for this episode. We just felt like this conversation was bigger than just the wedding industry. And, as Nick and I were planning this episode, we were almost afraid to do this episode because we didn't want people to think we were jumping on a trend when it came to talking about Black Lives Matter and having Black Wedding Videographers on our show. But ultimately, when it came down to it, our heart is there for the Black community, and we want to showcase some of these Black artists that are just doing such good work. And we just had an open conversation. We sit down for a little over an hour and 15 minutes, something like that. We just said, we're going to hit record. We're going to have a conversation with each other about this subject. And so, Nick, how would you describe what just happened?
Wow. I got a little emotional after we, just as a white dude that grew up in white suburbia, I had very little interaction with any Black people, really. And, just hearing the daily struggles and the thoughts and things that we don't even have to think about, things that we don't even consider, when we got off the air, Kariss said some stuff that, I know John and I both got emotional about it, as she's just talking about, conversations she's going to have to have with her son someday about the world and all of that kind of stuff. And like, I'm not having to have those conversations with my son. And so, very enlightening, very eye-opening. And John and I, our heart in this was to be open, to be honest, to have a raw conversation. We might have said some stuff that might be quote unquote offensive to maybe not even quote unquote, maybe just offensive. I don't know. But our heart in this was really to talk and share and be vulnerable, be open. It was kind of, John and I don't ever get nervous before we do interviews, and today I was nervous just because I wanted this message to be true and to be pure. And after a conversation like this, my life will be different. I will be changing. I will think differently, definitely. So
we ended up having Britley Little from Britvid, a company here in Oklahoma, on the panel. We had Farris Photos, a husband and wife team, Josh and Kariss out of Texas. And then Matthew Reid, very involved in our podcast community. And so, we had this panel, we had an open discussion, and I think, I can talk about it. I'm sitting here and I'm just like, okay, I need to process what just happened. We record these intros after our conversations so we can know, what we talked about and stuff. And so, I think it's just best to head on over into the episode. All right. Well, welcome to the How to Film Weddings podcast. I'm really pumped about this episode, Nick. There has been a lot going on in the world, and we wanted to have an open and honest, real conversation about things that are happening, especially in the United States right now, with just, everything that's been going on with George Floyd, the instance there, and everything that's just happening in the Black community. And, we debated back and forth on if we wanted to do an episode like this, because it's a very tough episode to have. It's uncomfortable. It's raw and real, but at the same time, we really just wanted to bring on some of our friends and open up a dialogue, because ultimately the How to Film Weddings community exists to wrap our arms around each other and lift each other up. And I think now more than ever, with the small platform that we have, we wanted to open up a dialogue. So maybe if you're listening out there and you feel like, you're not, a racist, or you're not, contributing to the problem, or different things like that, that maybe you would hear something in this episode, that would help you. And so this episode today is all about understanding each other growing, opening up a conversation, with some of our friends. And so, Nick, I don't know what else to add to that. I'm a little nervous about this conversation. I know you are too, just because we don't want to come across insensitive in any way or shape or form. Being two white guys, and all this stuff going on, Black Lives Matter, and it's like, we want to talk to people that are really have been affected in their lives and just kind of, I don't even know what I'm saying, but open up the dialogue there. What else do you have to add? Anything to that?
No, I don't think so. The thing that we just want our hearts to show in this, that, we want to start this conversation and have this conversation. So we brought on some friends. We're going to have a little panel discussion. So let's go around and have everyone introduce yourselves and just a little bit about you. So Britley, why don't we start with you and then go around?
Yeah, well, thanks for having us on, guys. I'm excited to be here and get uncomfortable and get messy. Like you said, I'm Britley and I'm with Britvid, and I'm based out of Oklahoma City. I started in 2017 and started in my childhood bedroom when I was 22. And so it's really awesome to see kind of how it's come about over the last 3 years, and have been really thankful for you guys and the How to Film Weddings family. And I know because of you guys, it's really progressed my business in incredible ways. So happy to be here.
Awesome. Britley's awesome. And a fellow Oklahoman, so she's great. I refer Britley a lot. All right, Matthew?
My name is Matthew. I'm with Matthew Reid Films, based out of Austin, Texas. And I do wedding videography. And I bought my camera from a friend off of Facebook in 2017, and I started in photography and then filmed my first wedding in 2018. And just like Britley, because of this podcast and because of the community, I mean, I've gotten work, I've made friends, and really have grown just in 2-3 years. And I'm excited to have this much needed conversation. And though it may be uncomfortable, if even one person really gets something out of this, I think it'll be definitely worth it.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, that's great.
All right.
Josh, Kariss?
Yeah, so awesome. So we're Josh and Kariss. We're a husband and wife team. We are wedding and commercial photographers and filmmakers. And so first of all, I just want to really thank you guys for even opening up for this communication and this dialogue that we're about to have. I think it's super cool that you guys have taken the initiative to even do this. And so just looking forward to talking with some other filmmakers in the wedding industry and some other creatives, and see how we can help, share our perspective.
Yeah. And I'll say the church where I go to here in Tulsa had a conversation similar to this a few weeks ago, before even, everything just kind of changed in the last few weeks. And, we're a predominantly white church. There are a lot of black people at our church. It's a church of 10,000 people. So it's definitely, but Oklahoma is a predominantly white state. I grew up with predominantly white people around me, and so, there was this conversation though where they brought in a pastor from Chicago and from Sacramento, and they just had this really open dialogue. Like, I don't want to be offensive to you. I'm a white guy that knows my world, but I want to understand you and your world. And I was listening to this in the car, and I was just bawling. Like, I feel like I was just crying because I felt so ashamed that I just felt like, well, I'm not a part of the problem. I know that I'm not a racist person. I know that, I've never had a racist thought in my mind. I'm not been around racism. Like, it wasn't in my family. And so I thought, well, that was back in the 40s and the 30s and the 60s and or whatever. And just hearing from these people, and like, my heart was just broken. And so I've just been in this state for about 2 weeks. And then all this is happening on the news, where it's just like, my goodness, like, if I have any kind of platform to kind of open up a similar dialogue. There were so many things that they said just about, the inequality that's going on and has been in our country since the beginning of the country, and how it's been so much harder for, the black community to get ahead in different areas. And it was just like, oh my goodness, I don't go out and think about my race when I'm out in public. I don't go out and I've never had a conversation with my daughters about, hey, you're this race, so you have to think this way, or like that's never. It's not even crossed my mind ever, like once. And I just thought about my little girls and having to have that conversation with a 9-year-old, and like how much different and how blind I was, and how like I was like, I got to do something. And so when this happened, and then Matthew kind of reached out and was like, hey, I don't know if you'd be interested in a conversation. I was like, I really want to do something very similar to what my church did, where it was just bring people on at the beginning, say, hey, we're not trying to be insensitive. We want to learn from each other, because that is the way we all grow. That is the way we get better. And you say, this is a wedding video podcast. What does that have to do with wedding video and, running your business and stuff like that? And for us, like, we wanted to open it up to you all, as minority business owners, what are some of the struggles that you've had to face since starting your business that maybe, your white friends wouldn't have to go through? So that was kind of the first thing we wanted to talk about, is just what are some of the things that you're dealing with as business owners? And it's open for whoever would want to jump in, but what are some of those struggles that you've had to face?
I guess I can jump in, and I'll just start by saying, Josh started our business in 2010 when he just started, taking pictures in college. As for him, sorry, I'm all over the place. For him, he was the first Black man in his family to go to college. And so he wanted to document that experience, which is why he picked up photography. And so when he kind of started that business in college, with that being the goal, I just feel like, that was a great just starter for him specifically. And when I joined in, photography was just something that I loved, and it was really great and fun for me to do. And so we went full-time in 2014. He went full-time in 2016. So that's just a little bit of the backstory on that. But for me specifically, when I was really diving in full-time with this business, a huge part of it was getting a stamp of approval. And what that looked like for me was, I have to book white clients and I have to take lots of pictures of white people to get that stamp of approval that we are good enough to shoot this caliber of weddings and of people. And even I felt like in order to get high caliber Black clients, I had to show them that I'm capable of this level of work. And so I know that was a really big driving factor for me. And so, even for me, that meant What was that?
What was your stamp of approval that you were looking for?
Just that white people will pay me money to do this. Publishing as well.
Getting into those blogs.
Yes, getting into certain blogs, that don't really, at the time, were not really accepting Black people as features. And so that was it. That was kind of the gateway to that. And so we even did style shoots, and that meant obviously we were doing style shoots with Black people.
That was a good point. They cut out. We'll wait on them. While we're waiting on them to maybe jump back in, Matthew, Britley, I want to hear the end of their point. They might be back. Let's see if. Okay, they're back.
Okay,
I want to hear the end of their point. Good. That's okay.
The point of that being that I wish I could have just like felt like I could just shoot my people and I didn't have to try to have special tactics or special marketing skills and all of these different things to get into certain avenues, to get into certain blogs so that people would see us. But that at the time for me just felt like the method that I had to go to get the business we wanted to get. And
Yeah, that's good. I know the reason why I first picked up my camera back in 2017 was it was around the time that my wife and I, or fiance at the time, we were shopping around for our wedding photographer, and just scrolling through Instagram and the Knot and all these directories and all this, even bridal magazines. I mean, we just see no representation of Black people, no Black grooms, no Black brides, Black couples. Well, we would see some interracial couples, but no, just Black. My wife is Black. I'm also Black. We wouldn't see that. And so I was like, I'm I got to do something about this. Someone changed that narrative. And that was, what got me to here. And even now, I have conversations with other wedding vendors who they say that they've been like a planner would bring on a photographer for a wedding, and then once the parents find out that photographer is Black, they say we need another one. I had a conversation today with a wedding planner who put on a Wakandan themed styled shoot, submitted it. I saw the images; they were beautiful, and the publication turned it down because they said it was too Black. And then there's subtle conversations that happen at weddings and different places that I go to, and it's just like, man, you can't say that. And so the experience is everywhere. I think when we say racism, we think of just outright blatant calling you names, but sometimes it's subtle. And sometimes it's the people that invite you to places, and those are the ones that have really stung deeper.
For me, I'm biracial, and so with that alone, I have privilege automatically. And I even posted the other day on my Instagram, being biracial, I have both been the victim of racism and also stood by silently while racist comments and words have played out in front of me. As a business owner, I really think for me it was lack of representation for female Black filmmakers. I couldn't name one whenever I first started. And even then, now, 3 years into this, I know a few, and I'd like to expand that, beyond just the ones that I know. But I think that matters, and I want my potential clients, I want everyone who looks at my Instagram, my website, my YouTube to see themselves represented. Because similar, to Kariss, I have a ton of white friends. I have a lot of white family members. So shooting white weddings automatically was what I was doing and, have been doing. I've shot very few Black weddings and of other people of color, honestly. And so for me, I know that I was looking at the Mature Workshop and I saw that KEJ Productions was on it, and I saw Elaine, and I was like, oh my God, she is killing it, and she's so talented, and I look like her, and that made a huge difference. And I was like, I have to go, I want to meet her. And so for me, I'm really taking a hard look at what I put on my social media and what's on my YouTube and my website, and personally for me, thinking of ways how I can not just have a better portfolio that's more diverse, but how I can have more diversity in my own personal life too.
Oh, go ahead, Kariss, go ahead.
Oh, no. I'll just say, just as the last thing that I just thought of for us is, because we started our business at Baylor where we went to school, we kind of automatically had a lot of clients who were white, and our first couple was interracial, and I think the first 8 couples we had after that were also interracial, which gave us a lot of content. So not only, just kind of automatically was I thinking, oh, I have to try to shoot white people to get in certain blogs, but we just had a lot of interracial couples initially. And so when we were marketing that, that's what we got a lot of coming towards us too. And I think that, I would love to say that if we had only shot Black people in the beginning, that we would be at the point that we are now, but I'm just not sure that would be the case.
Yeah, I think our story is kind of an anomaly as far as who we were able to shoot when we started our business. Our first couple was a white male and an Asian female. And so that gave us a little bit of some diversity to market when we started. So then we started getting a lot of interracial couples. And so we kind of had a lot to showcase. But to your point earlier, it was still hard to get into the blogs to really get our name out there. So yeah.
Yeah. A thought that I had, and Matthew, you touched this, and Britley, you touched on this a little bit, but how important is like representation, like actually seeing people that look like you and, in, films or in magazines or in books or, whatever. I remember when the movie Black Panther came out, and I thought of this because Matthew, you brought it up, but like, I heard all these comments, oh, it's so popular, he looks like me. It's a black superhero, and all this stuff. And it just blew up. And I didn't get it, like, why would I get it? But I didn't get it. And then, as I'm hearing more of these conversations, I'm like hearing how much representation matters, and seeing people that look like, me, or look like you, or look like how I am, in something. So can you guys just touch on that? Why does that matter? And why is it so important to you guys?
I think when you think of, where, like, just historically and systemically, like where Black people have come from, and, and where they are now, when, even bringing it to weddings, imagine if you were never able to see a wedding film. We go on and on about the power of video and heirlooms and, all these things. And then to have all these generations and never have anything that's documented of your family's love, of Black love. And so to have something that's like, to look up and say, okay, this is what I can actually do. This is what Black love can look like. Because if we don't see it in, these beautiful wedding films that we're making, then the only thing on relationships that we're seeing is how media is portraying Black relationships, and media is saying that Black fathers are absent, single mothers, can't raise all their kids, but to be able to show these a wedding film, or to have representation in movies with superheroes that you've never had. We have one Disney princess, and it's powerful, not just for us to realize it, but even for little kids. Josh and Kariss have two young ones, and I can't imagine raising a kid in a society where they can't look up to a superhero, or can't look up to what Black love looks like, but instead are limited to the identity of how media is portraying them.
That's great, Matthew. I totally agree with what you're saying. And just to, kind of piggyback on this point, representation matters because the narrative matters, right? Our legacy matters, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes down to representation, I feel like it's important just for the fact that the story needs to be told. Just for an example, in our house, we have pictures of all of our parents and grandparents and even great grandparents, their wedding photos in our home. Why? Awesome. Because we believe that legacy is important. We believe that love, marriage is important. Our faith is important. And we want to be reminded of that every day. But who is most important to see that? Our children. Because we want them to come up and say, you know what? My parents stayed together. They were married. My grandparents did it. It's just the narrative that gets repeated and repeated. And that's what they tend to believe, So it's important that Black artists, Black people, just all races are included and represented for the betterment of the humanity. It's kind of sad that we have to be represented so much because of what, like you were saying, Matthew, the media is portraying. And so when it comes down to representation, I think that's a huge way to battle the negative narrative that is being depicted in today's society and culture.
Yeah. And even like to bring it currently, you were talking about Wakanda and like not understanding like what the big deal was and all of that stuff. And I think that sometimes for me specifically, it's so much easier to see why representation matters because we have small children, and we can see like the immediate reaction to when they see someone that looks like them and how that affects how they act and what they do. And so like even simply, Ellie, she knows we're photographers and videographers. She sees us with cameras all the time. And I don't think she's going to be a photographer or videographer. I don't. But her interest in that has peaked so much just because she sees us doing it. She sees the people around us doing it. And a lot of time, we work with people who look like us too. And so she's seeing that. And so she has a kid camera and she wants to direct things now. And so, that's up close. Yeah, that's up close to us. But even, bigger to her, looking at Disney movies and simple things like seeing the hair of like, oh, my hair looks like that too.
Yeah.
And being comfortable with that and okay with that. I'll say for me personally, I'm 28 now, but I remember the first time I saw.
Oh no. Cut out right on the best part.
Oh man.
First time
They're
I
cursed.
saw.
Are we here?
Yes.
You remember the first time you saw, and then it cut out.
That was a good
Next time on the podcast.
I do remember the first time I saw a Black bride wear her natural hair. Me as a Black woman who has natural hair, I was like, oh my God, no, she didn't wear her natural hair on her wedding day. Like,
Yeah.
But I mean, but that's because as I grew up, on your wedding day, especially, you straighten your hair. That is the time to look the most presentable. And so even, as a little girl, my daughter growing up, I want it to be normal for her to see a Black woman wear her hair the way that it comes out of her head on the wedding day when she's getting married to the man who's supposed to accept her for who she is. And that's why representation matters, because me as a 28-year-old woman was appalled when I saw that, for the first time in my 20s. And I don't want her to be appalled at that. I want her to be comfortable with that.
Yeah.
That's really good. I wanted to jump in. So you saying that about like seeing your hair, like, again, that's never crossed my mind. Like, until I think I was I'm 35. I think until I was in my mid 20s, I didn't even know, like ignorance, but like, oh, that person is wearing a wig. I didn't know that wasn't your natural hair. I had no idea. Like, I just wasn't around. Like, so it's like, not only am I not able to even realize that was a thing, I didn't even realize that was possible. Like, I'm like so far removed, and like, I feel like, just hearing you talk, I'm just like, oh my goodness, like I picture my little Anna who's 9, and she's got, the Disney princesses. She's loves Ariel one day, and then she loves Elsa and Anna, and she, there's so many white princesses for her to identify with and all that. And so like, she doesn't see like the difference, obviously, in like Tiana, the Black princess, or her favorite princess is Mulan right now, who's an Asian princess. And so she like, so we feel like, oh, well, that's great. We want her to be, to see different cultures and stuff. But I think so many of us out there, especially the white listeners, just don't even realize all of the layers of things that are going on, that we're not even like, it's not necessarily like we're privileged by any, but it's just like I'm not concerned that my daughter Anna is going to have to worry about her hair on her wedding day. Like, that's not even a wavelength that I'm having. And Matthew mentioned this earlier, Britley, just about seeing and hearing certain things that were not necessarily blatant racism, but insensitive to your race on a wedding day. And so I wanted to just ask the four of you, just Matthew mentioned it earlier, like, what types of things are you picking up on wedding days or in life in general that it's just like, wow, how is this still happening? What kinds of things are you just like, come on? Because I want to know, like, am I being insensitive? Because I know my heart is not insensitive, but maybe I am being, or maybe these things happen again and again, and it's like, oh, if only people knew. So what kinds of things are you all seeing?
For me, I think whenever it comes down to the reception and music starts playing, I am appalled by how many people are singing the N-word in music, even if the DJ plays the clean version of the song. I mean, yes. I can look at my footage and tell your mouth is saying it right now, and it's not okay at all. So that's something that I've repeatedly seen, and I'm just kind of standing there with my camera, like, recording you. And it blows my mind each time that it happens. It blows my mind. So that's my personal experience.
All right.
I don't know. I mean, maybe I can say I'm blessed. I haven't experienced any like blatant.
Maybe because we're there and they wouldn't dare.
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. And for the that they meet us beforehand too,
Yeah.
So I haven't experienced, maybe you'll get the occasional from a family member you speak and they don't speak back or something, but at this point that's kind of normal, So I'm just trying to think of anything but I haven't necessarily experienced anything like that. When it comes down to being a business owner and in the wedding industry, this is what I will say: it's harder to get into certain cliques, or it's harder to get into certain groups, if I will. But even then, like, our personal experience we've been included in different groups, and a lot of that has been also because we've asserted ourselves as well. We've led with the value, or we've made that introduction first. But I would say it's more so that way than blatant in your face, especially if they're already a paying client.
Yeah, kind of similar to Josh. I mean, not so blatant, but I think what I'm thinking is kind of, how do I feel in certain environments? Why do I feel unsafe in certain environments? Why does Britley have to shudder whenever she knows that they're playing this one Izzo song? And it's all these things. It's and I think that's kind of where it gets deeper, where some people have a hard time relating, because it's not just, man, I hope nobody calls me the N-word at this wedding. But sometimes it's the stares, and sometimes it's people trying to touch my hair. Sometimes it's people looking at what car am I getting stuff out of, making sure that it is my car, getting stopped by the security guards at venues when I'm coming and leaving with all this expensive gear. And though they may not straight up ask, hey, are you taking that? But, just kind of inquiring on who I am, be like, hey, I'm the videographer, like, I can get in here. And those are the things where you just feel uncomfortable, I think like for wedding videographers, like, some people say like, oh, I'm never doing Catholic weddings again, or I'm never doing these type of weddings again. And, I pay attention closely on my inquiry form when they fill out where your venue is, because some people are still getting married on plantations. I'm in Texas. There's a ton of them, and I don't want to be seen in that kind of environment. There's some venues that are deep in the country that I know that I'm going to feel uncomfortable with. Why do we feel uncomfortable? I don't know, and that's the hard part.
Josh, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I was just going to say the opposite of that is, and I think we probably get this sometime, is the overly, like, oh, y'all are good. Oh, you can do this. Oh, you are professional. Oh, you are on time. Oh, you are, that overly didn't know you could do that type of thing. I think that's worse than, the blatant in the face. Like, I'm so old. I'm not going to say over. I'm so immune, or so my heart is so hard from. I don't even know what to say. I'm so guarded from it. That's normal. But those are the things that kind of catch me off guard. Oh, you went to Baylor? Oh, you got your degree? Oh, you're a mechanical engineer? Oh my gosh. Those type of things, like, where you can't believe that I can achieve just as well or even better than the next guy. I mean, so I think that's what gets me the most.
Yeah. I like that point that Matthew made earlier, where when it comes to this, being racist or racism stuff, it's not, me saying derogatory things to your face or that kind of stuff. It's just like the little comments like that, that people just make over and over again. That's, I'm not hearing that kind of stuff. No one's saying that stuff to me, but just because of your skin color, they're saying that to you. And, man, that's, yeah.
It breaks my heart. That's where I get to, where it's just like, and then I go back to, how I can make a change. How can we, and there are riots going on in our country right now, and there are things happening, and people are, more connected than ever with social media and seeing these things. I saw, Will Smith's tweet, I think it was, Nick was talking about like, this isn't new. There's just cameras now. It's showing this. And it's just like, for me, I've just had like this, I don't know, my heart is just so broken for the Black community, specifically here in the United States, and hearing you all say these things, I'm just like, I walk in and out of expensive country clubs all the time, through the back way, at night. No one ever questions me or what I'm doing. I've never been questioned once by anybody. I pull up to wherever I want to go, like at these really nice country clubs. Nobody asks me anything. And I'm walking in privilege that I don't even know that I have. And to me, that's the thing where I want the listeners that are out there, be so super aware of it. And I think that's the first step, is just being aware that this is existing. Like, I didn't grow up, in the 80s and 90s where like there wasn't mass segregation happening. I mean, it was in the past, or so I thought. Like, I didn't realize it was still a thing. And so if you're out there listening and you're like, well, it's not relevant to me, I would challenge you to, to look at what's going on around you and in the world, and how can you be more sensitive and more aware for people around you. So anyway, it's just definitely hearing it, you're just like, oh my goodness, what can we do? One thing I wanted to ask, if you were able to use this platform to say something to, the non-Black listeners out there that you wish they knew, that you wish they were aware of, is there anything that stands out to you, like when it comes to the wedding videography community? Like, what can we do as a community better? What do you wish we knew? What things are very obvious that it's just like, man, if this could change, if these things could change, we could start making some progress towards, true equality.
Yeah, go ahead, Joe. Okay, I'll go. I could think of 3 things, especially as videographers. One is to really take a look at your portfolio. Not to call anybody out, but I looked at the list that was recently shared in the Facebook group of the most influential videographers, and I looked through every single one of their portfolios, and I saw 2 videos of Black couples, and and that's not to say that your location that we're just not there, but it's somebody's looking at it, and they could assume something about the types of weddings that you shoot. Maybe you think that, Black people they aren't part of high-end weddings. Well, then why do you think that? Why do you believe that? I could look at Josh and Kariss's portfolio and believe that, Black people can have high-end weddings. A second thing is, especially as video people, as content creators, we can really have an opportunity to really amplify Black voices. A lot of us are sitting around at home for the last 2 or 3 months with a camera and doing nothing with it. What if we went out into the community and filmed some of these people that are hurting? What if we created something that's able to bring out some of these voices of people that want platforms? And then my last thing is, really, reaching out to people, not to offer aid, but I think something that's really coming up with the state of our society is, and where we are with how can we help Black people and Black businesses. A lot of people who are not Black have more experience. They have connections, and if you really want to believe and say, okay, how can I help get Black people to the table? How can I help get these Black videographers, Black video Black videographers and their businesses up and running, well, Hera, let me help provide some mentorship. Let me make sure that our workshops are diverse and that everybody is represented here. And if that's not happening, then again we ask, why is it not happening? What are you feeling inside that's being representative of the people that are being drawn to you?
It's really good.
Really good.
I would say, and I just did this yesterday, but I only know 5 Black wedding vendors in Oklahoma that I can name off the top of my head. And that made me really, really sad. And so I just posted in my local Facebook group for photographers and videographers and, just said that I don't know many. Would you mind tagging them and posting their information so that I can follow, that I, can support their business, not as a way to exploit or show, look at me, I'm doing so much good, but truly as a way to just reach out and say, hey, like, is there a way we can collaborate? Could I, have you on and recommend you to some of my couples, looking at your work? And so I would encourage people who are listening to do that. I personally, once again, this all goes back to personal experience, would not be offended if I saw that posted in a Facebook group, but I think that would be something that many people could do right now after this podcast to help the Black wedding vendors in their own community.
Good.
Absolutely. I think both of you have great points on what we can do. I know something that kind of makes me, I don't know, what's the word, twinge or whatever, is, we'll tell our experiences and then you'll say, I'm so sorry, what can I do? I understand that, but we're not looking for handouts. We're not looking for, anything free. I mean, we've been working this hard, this long, and we know that we're going to have to work even harder and for even longer. So I think the best thing that you can do is offer opportunities, right? A fair shot, open up your hands, to be able to help your fellow man, at the end of the day. And so some of those things can be doing exactly what you're doing now. You're opening up your platform for some new voices to be able to give you a fresh, new perspective of what's going on right next door to you. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I think that's great. And then you mentioned that you were going to church, so I'm gonna, you left the door open, so I'm gonna go ahead and swing it open. But
it's open.
That's just me. What can other videographers and everybody else do? I love to speak to my creators, but especially my fellow Christians. People who are creatives but are also of faith. I would just plead and beg to you that you don't look at us any differently, right? Look at us as your brothers and sisters. And so when doing that, you're able to say with no bias, you look over and say, hey, I have an opportunity, or I can refer you, or, any of those things. You can eliminate those prejudices that may pop up and literally treat us like you would your own white colleagues, white associates, anything like that. Because like we said, we love what we do. We love weddings. We love couples. We love love. We love legacy, faith, family, all of those things. And we just want to make it great together. We're going to do what we do, with you or without you, but we would love to do it together. And we think that we can help greater humanity, the entire industry, all of that, if we can come and be on the same team, shoot in the same direction, But until we can serve together, because that's what we do on wedding days, right? We're serving the bride and the clients together. But until we can serve together, we won't be able to get along. We won't be able to do any of those things. And we'll see each other as competition or just somebody who does something completely different. When in fact, we're not. We're all using Canon, Sony, Nikons, whatever it may be, Ari's Red, whatever. We're using the same gear. We're all on the team, So at the end of the day, if you can just choose, make the decision to not look past the race, but look at the reality of America and what that means and race in America means, I think we'll be able to make a lot better strides and go a lot further together, So that was a soapbox. Sorry, you left the door cracked.
I like the soapbox. I have a thought, and I think this is the thing that I am I think that I'm so worried that I'm going to accidentally say or do something offensive that I just am like paralyzed. And that's how it feels and me having a broken heart for the Black community is not, I don't want to say, oh, well, here's a handout. Like, I don't look at you any differently than me. That's just me personally. I've never looked at a Black person and thought, well, I am better that's never been a thing for me. But for what I want to try to figure out and help with is like, I'm a white guy that has a successful business here in Oklahoma. And I would be afraid, to be honest, to be like, hey, Black Lives Matter. If you're a Black business owner, I would love to connect. I would feel like that would be really offensive. I feel like if I was like, I'd love to help connect and help use my privilege. Like I would feel like that is like Britley can post that because, she's biracial. And so that's not offensive. But if I posted that, it'd be like, look at this white guy trying to, have his privilege or like make himself feel better or look better based on that. And so my question to all of you would just be like, what can I as a white guy be doing to offer my hand? Because I feel like the opposite side of it would be, I would think that Black people think poorly of me because I'm not one of them. I'm not Black, so like I don't understand. That'd just be my, like, I've never processed that out loud, but that would be my subconscious thought of like, well, I don't belong. I don't want to upset, like, but in college, I went to Oral Roberts University here in town. My floor was 80% Black guys. And it was, I had the time of my life. It was like, you are my people. I think I am probably actually Black, but just have really light skin. But no, like, I love being around Black people. I love Black love. I love it all. But I just don't know where that bridge is and how to. And if I've been offensive, I'm really sorry. But like, that's my question, my thought. Like, what can I do as a successful white mid-30s business owner in the middle of a white and Republican state do to help? What can I do?
This kind of reminds me of, I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago, whenever I think it was Nike that announced Colin Kaepernick as their man of the year. And so many people were like, I'm burning all my Nike stuff that I already bought, and I'm boycotting Nike, and, all these things. And, I guess a question that to be asked is, if there's a hesitancy or if I'm afraid to say something like Black Lives Matter or to show Black couples in my feed, what is it that I'm afraid of? Am I afraid that I'm going to repel people? I think you shouldn't be afraid to repel people that don't believe what you already believe, especially if we're, on the topic of branding, when we are the brands. And if we can't be open with all the things that we believe and we're hiding ourselves, then I think the opposite of being an advocate is being anti, and that's not a place that you want to be. Unless it is, then that's the place that you choose to be in. Mm-hmm. That wasn't to condemn you in any way, but I don't feel condemned. I think there's a lot you can do. For example, because of this podcast, I got connected to Ladybird Studio here in Austin, and the second time that I had a conversation with Jordan Bunch, we were both in tears because we were sharing our experiences with police officers. He was sharing his experience, and I got to share mine, and that was the first time that I've ever had a heart-to-heart with a man of Jordan's, the place that he's in, a white male older than me, white male, and hearing his experience, just really touched me, and I knew like, okay, this is somebody that I want to stay connected with. This is somebody that I want in my life. This is somebody that I know that I can go to. I can count on one hand, the amount of white people that I can have conversations to, or that trust to have conversations with me whenever they have questions about, oh, is this okay for me to do with my business, or can I post this, can I do that, and we just have that open dialogue, and I think that's something that we are severely missing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that there is a difference between a handout and an opportunity. I really don't think that a lot of Black people who are working hard and are really, trying to get better at their craft and are trying to build their business are looking for handouts. I think that a lot of times we just need opportunity to be able to do that. And because certain industries have had a history of, white people being able to climb the ladder quickly and easily, and it just being so much harder and taking so much longer for Black people, that if you have reached a certain level in your company, in your business, where you're able to say, hey, I need a second shooter for this. Give a Black person who's been working hard the opportunity. So I personally don't see a problem with saying, hey, I would love to work with a Black vendor on this next event or this next wedding. Tag somebody, who you think would be a great fit for my brand. I don't think that there's any problem with that, because I don't think there's a difference between kind of tossing someone an opportunity who hasn't worked hard for it, which to me is a handout. You have to work hard for what you're wanting. Yeah, there has to be qualifications for sure. It's not just like, hey, anybody and everybody, if you're Black, come work for me. That is totally different from giving someone an opportunity who has showed themselves approved, so to speak, in terms of just having worked hard and having achieved, something on their own.
Absolutely. Yeah. And when it comes, you said you have a successful business. I mean, one, right now, I'll say it again, you're bridging the gap as we speak, right? By just asking the question, putting forth an effort to have a conversation. Outside of that, I was going to say, when you say, hey, I would love to help somebody, you can do that out of the kindness of your heart. Say, I would love to help. And then now, if you get all different types of races of people who are asking for your help, hey, take it, but then also show this. These are my students. These are the people who I'm helping. And if I personally see myself in that, I will be more drawn to, okay, well, he doesn't care. He's willing to help anybody. Let me see what he has to say. It's the ones who are saying, I want to help, and you don't see yourself in the people that they're helping. And now you start saying, well, who do you want to help? So with what you're doing right now, I think is perfect. Continue to showcase that. I'm not saying, okay, just flood your Instagram with Black people. No, I'm not saying that. But what I am is just be honest in your representation, like we mentioned in the beginning, and let that be on the forefront of your mind. You have a great product, deliver the value. That's first and foremost. But at the same time, as you're marketing it, making sure that you're marketing it to everybody. You're not ignorantly or unintentionally cutting certain people off, and just out of the kindness of your heart. I believe, if you do that, there's nothing you should have to worry about,
Sorry to keep interrupting, Nick, but I have a follow-up. So
I'm not surprised.
In my situation, so I have, in the history of my company in 13 years, filmed 2 Black weddings. And the last time I filmed a Black wedding was over 10 years ago. I have not gotten inquired for a Black wedding. I have not, so my first part of the question is, I don't want to be insensitive and say, I'm looking for more diversity in my wedding. Like, I don't know how to bridge that gap. And then as a business owner, so one thing that I have a heart to do as a successful business owner, not just a wedding videographer, would be to reach out to the Black community in areas of my town that need mentors and need more help. And I would love to just put a blanket statement out there. If you are a person of color that wants to run a more successful business, I want to give some of my time to do that, to help. Not as a handout, but I feel called to help people with their businesses. That's why we're doing this podcast. But specifically, since these, the last few months have gone, I really would love to get to a point where I just don't know how to bridge that gap of being insensitive when saying I want to diversify my portfolio with looking at different, mainly we do white people, We do Asian weddings. We've done a couple of biracial weddings, but I don't even I don't know how to put that representation out there, and I don't know how to get more diversification without coming across offensive.
Let me help you. Simple tip: go to where they are. Where the diverse people are in your city. You know where Black people are. You know where brown people. I wouldn't necessarily limit it to Black people. There's people. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about Black people right now, so yes.
Sure.
But, go to the churches, in the media groups. They need help. There's kids in the media groups of churches who love cameras, who want to know how to start a business, who may even want to work there full time, but don't know how. You know what I mean? So I don't say you got to put up a banner and say, I want to help Black people. Just go to where they are, build the relationships with the stakeholders in the community, and they will throw kids your way, throw people your way who need to be mentored. That's great that you have that. Push forward. You don't got to put up a sign. Just go to where they are.
Thank you. That's good.
I'd agree with that. Yeah, I think at colleges in Tulsa or the surrounding area, if they have Black chapters, Black sororities, Black fraternities, even offering to film a recruitment video for them or a promo video, I think that would be a great step in just going into the community and offering your help without having to, post on social media. I don't think it's wrong to post on social media about that, but I would definitely, like they said, first go into those communities. I like that plan better. Yeah, I like that plan better than posting that. I like that. That helps me a ton. All right, Nick, I'm taking a break. Go for it.
Yeah. I guess, kind of where I'm sitting, and I'm the same with John. I've filmed a few, people of color weddings, a few Asian weddings, a few mixed race weddings, that kind of stuff. But on, our YouTube channel kind of blew up a little bit over, the last year. And I can't tell you how many comments I get that says too white, like people commenting. And like my whole response is always in my head is, well, I don't pick who I shoot for, right? Like, these people are hiring me, and this is who hired me. And so, is it kind of the same thing what John is talking about? Like, if I want to, show that not only do I want to, but I'm willing and able and, want to participate, with other, people of color's weddings and that kind of stuff. Do I just, what do I do with that, I guess?
Yeah. I think the first question you ask yourself is, do you want to shoot it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, do you want to shoot? I'm not saying you have to go shoot Black people if you don't want to. I'm just saying if you do want to be more diverse, if you do want to be open, then sure. And this is how you do it. One of the main principles that we share in our mentoring sessions and when we help people grow their businesses is to show what you want to shoot. Now, if you're putting nothing but white brides and grooms or just Black brides and grooms, that's what you're going to get. You know what I mean? So when we started, we were very diverse and had biracial couples. So we got a lot of other biracial couples, so put out what you want to shoot.
Yeah. Yep. And I think something that's even very more practical, it's not a word or phrase. That's very practical. Extra practical, whatever. This is something that you guys preach to new videographers is set up a styled shoot. If you really want to do it, you could. There are Black wedding planners that would love to have content, and they have a reach of people. And we already know that wedding planners are the gatekeepers, and if that's a desire of yours, then you've now made a connection, and now you have a styled shoot where it's like, I really want to diversify my portfolio. And, coming from an honest place, whether you feel guilty because you haven't been doing it, whether you feel shame because you've intentionally been avoiding it, or maybe because you just didn't know that it was a thing, you can be honest with that. I'd rather you be genuine with me and tell me, I didn't know, but I want to do better. Like, okay, yeah, come on, I have one next month. Let's shoot together, or style shoots are great. I don't know if you can be at a point in your business where you're so high where you're still not doing a styled shoot to create the content that you want to be filming from then on.
Yeah.
I think that's so great what Matthew just said, like just to piggyback off that, because when we were starting, we did style shoots to get what we wanted to people to pay us for. And that was across the board. I mean, it wasn't just white people, it was racial people, it was Black people. But to create the content we wanted to be paid to do, we did style shoot. And so I just think it's so cool and interesting that, like, no matter how big you get, if you want, to market something, if you want to receive those types of clients, you have to put that out, even if that means, going back to doing style shoots. And also, if you're doing style shoots, that is such a wonderful way for you to network with Black vendors. So you can say to a planner, I really want to do a style shoot and I want to involve as many Black vendors as possible to benefit from the videography that's going to come from this. Like, even as photographers, if we're thinking about white wedding photographers, you can do the same thing, because if you're a photographer, you're the holder of the content. And same with videography, you hold all this good content. And so to include all of these vendors who have products or the people themselves, whether it be models or, a baker or whatever, you can give them all of this great content that would further, market their own businesses. And so it gives you the content, but it also builds up their businesses as well.
Yeah. And then to reemphasize a point that's come up a few times, I really want to hit on it. This is not a handout. This is not, I feel sorry for your people. This is, I see a gap, I see a hole, and I want to help fill it. Whatever it takes for me to do, these are moments of sacrifice. Sacrifice means that I have to give something up so that other people can come up. And that's exactly, the opportunity that you guys have and other people that are listening or watching, is to help other people get to a place where they are now seen. So now Josh and Kariss's children are able to see beautiful wedding videos of Black couples and Black love, and there's more Black videographers that are filming these things. Kind of like Britley said, I didn't know any Black videographers until you guys brought on Caleb and Elaine onto the podcast, and until then, and now this conversation, I know 3 other Black videographers, and we're there. But those of us that are or those of you guys that are in a higher place per se, there's a gap, there's a hole, and you could help fill that hole. This is not a handout.
Yeah. I think it's interesting to me that, I've been, I've gotten those comments and I've been sitting on it and I'm like, well, what can I do about it? And all of this stuff that you guys have just said is, stuff that I, preach and share on this podcast. I just wasn't like thinking of it through the right, the right way, but you're absolutely right. Thank you for sharing that. One thing, as I, kind of, as we're kind of going on, we asked you the question, what is something that you could say to, your non-Black, business owners or friends or people that might be listening to this, but also, I'm sure, within the Black, community, there's lots of different ideas and lots of different thoughts and lots of, different things. So as we're sitting here and we're having this conversation, what's something that you would like to share with, people in the Black community about your thoughts or how they can help or what they can do, because, obviously we all need to work together if we're going to, make things better in our world. So what would you guys say to that?
I would say this, and because when we first started, the goal was just to preserve memories. So we wanted to, preserve memories of Black people and interracial people and white people and all of these things, all these different kinds of people. We just wanted to preserve their memories. And because of that, we purposefully put ourselves in different circles. We didn't want to have a lot of content of just one type of people. And so we purposefully reached out to different blogs and all these different types of things. But I think what we found is that diversity can be popular just with different blogs and different things like that. So if you can provide excellence to a variety of different, and I don't want to just say blogs, so magazines and groups. I mean, there's tons of different groups in all these different states, and just provide value to them. I think the way that we got a lot of the business that we did is just going to people and just saying, how can we provide value? And then in that, trying to place people who look like us. So like if we were doing a styled shoot for a certain magazine who we know just, does a lot of people who look like them and not like us, it's how, hey, we would love to shoot for you guys. We would love to be on a styled shoot with you. And how can we give value to your magazine in any kind of way? And then just trying to bring people with us as well. So I would say to Black people, do the work, try to get into groups that don't look like you and bring people along with you who look like you as well. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
I think he was asking about white people.
Oh, I thought he said Black people.
No, I said Black people this one. You were right.
Oh,
You're right.
you did. You feel bad. I was like, okay, yeah. Then I would just say, do the work, and it's gonna be hard and expect that it's just hard. It is what it is. But what is it that you say? Your dad said you got to be twice as. What is it? You
gotta be twice. My dad used to always tell me you gotta be twice as good to get half as far. So,
right.
At the end of the day, just do great work.
Right.
That's going to put you in the door first. That's going to keep you in the door. It's going to be hard to get in the door, but you got to have great work. That's what I'll
do your best to perfect your own craft, and then take your best work to groups who don't look like you and give them value. That's the principle of what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
I have nothing to add. I retweet all of that. Yeah. That was good.
I would say one, I guess, not to feel intimidated by the other people that are doing good work. When I kind of addressed this earlier, but when I'm looking up wedding videographers and portfolios, and I see a bunch of people in videos that don't look like me, that doesn't mean that people are trying to avoid filming people that look like me. But they may still be willing to bring me on as a second shooter, to offer some sort of to offer help. If I'm really in this, for my business and for couples and for preserving memories and heirlooms, then I want to do whatever it takes to get there. Whether that means I'm going to reach out to a local company and see if they can provide me some help and get me some more gigs and some videos and some more weddings, but to not feel intimidated and put your neck out there.
As we're getting closer to wrapping up, I know you guys have lives to get to. So from time to time, Nick and I will get a message on Instagram or from someone that says, hey, you need to include more color on your podcast, or you need to have this person on because they are Black or because they are and our North Star for our podcast has always been we want to elevate the wedding industry, and we feel as though it's offensive to any gender, race, ethnicity to just have somebody on because they are a certain fill in the blank, whatever that is. And, I'm scrolling back in the last couple of weeks, looking how many, I haven't sit there and thought, okay, I need to get more Black people on the pod. I'm scrolling through who's been on our podcast that's Black. And I'm like, oh my goodness, we have, and it's not because I'm racist. It's not because I'm, but we're always how can we just put people in front of people that have a message to say, that are killing it with their wedding game. And my encouragement, Nick's question is, what would you say to people of color? We would love the suggestions of people that are doing a really great job. Whenever I asked Matthew, who would you have on this podcast? And, he told me about, Kariss and Josh, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm looking at your work and I'm like, this is beautiful. I love this. You have this great following of people that are, it's just so cool to be exposed to new and better talent and things. And so if you're out there listening and you're like, man, they should have these people on the podcast. We want to be more, we want to be more diverse ourselves. We want to have more people where we don't our goal isn't to okay, now we need to fill in once every 7 episodes with somebody that doesn't look like me or anything like that. But we do want to be more aware of everybody that is out there. So if you're listening to this, and people that are doing really great with and need to be exposed to this community, by all means, send us a message, shoot us a message on Instagram or something. And so, is that offensive for me to even say that? Does that feel offensive to like, I feel like it might be. I really want to see more diversity on our podcast, and we've had diversity, but does that make sense? Am I being Nick? Huh? No?
I'll let you guys talk.
Okay.
Oh, we can't hear you, Josh. Something happened.
Oh.
Something happened.
I'll fill in. I think, if just going back to the same thing, like with your business, if it's genuine and, like this is something you really want to do, you don't just want, Black videographers on your platform because it's the thing right now, like,
sure. Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people are being forced to post the black square, and it's like, okay, we blacked out Tuesday, now it's Wednesday, what are we going to do now? And so if you stop at that, or if you're continuing to do it, or if you think it's done, now we can get back to our regularly programmed schedule, that's not the case. Like, if anything, this is the chance. And so I think if you're genuine in that, if we're going to know the people that really care, because in 2 weeks, they're still having these kind of conversations. And if you're still, in 2 weeks, in a month, in 3 months, actively trying to diversify your guests or diversify your portfolios, then it's going to be seen, and people will take notice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I am interested to see, like Matthew said, the trend is like now, and I'm seeing a lot of people do it, and it's encouraging, it's supportive, but also not doing it just to do it, just to have diversity, doing it because you truly do, you care, it's genuine, you want to feature incredibly talented Black videographers and photographers and planners on your podcast, not because it's the it thing right now.
And that was one of the big things I think that Nick and I, when we were talking about yesterday, it's like, I'm very passionate and do want to diversify more. And that is a thing. And it's like, I don't want people to ever assume that I am trying to use and I hate that, like, it's a trend. Like I almost posted something today saying, like, it's kind of like what Matthew was saying, where it's like, yeah, it's Wednesday now. Did you just post this to make your social media look, like to fit in? Like, are you just fitting in? Are you doing? And so that's really good, Britley. I appreciate you saying that, for sure. Yeah, we can't hear you still. Oh. Yeah. No, Kariss, sorry, we can't hear you still.
Okay, Matthew, go ahead.
I would add something too. It doesn't really answer the question, but just something that I've been thinking about. As you got, people, white people, other non-Black people, non-people of color, you really have more of a say in who is invited to certain places. I've avoided a lot of workshops and seminars because all the educators are white, and all of the models are white, and it's not because I don't love their work and all that, but it's like, man, like, this is such an opportunity to represent all kinds of people, and this is the avenue that they choose. And so, if you go to these places, if you go to these workshops or these seminars or whatever, and you see that, like, if you, John, or Nick, or other people say something, that's going to go a lot further than if I were to say something, and that's just a huge opportunity to really help amplify Black voices in places like that.
And I will say one thing, and this is, you said that you didn't want people to think that you were just doing it because this is on trend right now, and I just feel like, unpopular opinion maybe, but just do it. And then in the long run, people will see that it wasn't just for the trend, is that you're continuing to diversify, you're continuing to have people on. And so let people say what they want to say, and then show them that in the long run that it is truly a heart change and not just something that you're doing to stay on trend. Because I really don't think that you can control people's opinions. People are going to think what they want to think right now. And emotions are just so high for so many people right now that it's impossible to, gingerly tiptoe around how everybody is going to think and may feel, and what if they think I'm doing it for this reason. Do it for the reason that you're saying it is, which is that you've had a heart change and that you really want to be inclusive and give opportunities to people of color who have, who maybe have intentionally not given opportunities to before, but you weren't, what is the word? Intentional about giving those opportunities to, and just do it and do it in the long run, and people will see that in the future that it was an honest thing.
Yeah, that's really good, man. I really do love this conversation, and I know we could keep going for a while. I do want to kind of wrap things up, and hopefully if you're out there listening, you hear all of our hearts, and our goal with this community is to elevate the industry and wrap our arms around each other. And so thank you to all four of you for being on and opening up and being vulnerable. We're going to tag all of them in the Instagram post, or if you're listening online, all their stuff's going to be in the show notes. We didn't want this episode to be about advertisements and plugging ourselves, rather just giving something to the community to really think about and chew on. And if this is something that you feel like somebody needs to hear, share it with them, because I feel like this conversation it is very important for the world to know, not just wedding filmmakers. And if this is something that you think you should share with somebody, do it. Not so we can get any benefit from ourselves, but like we want you to share it and to help make this cause, make this something that people are really thinking about. So anyway, Nick, anything to add? Anybody else on the panel to add before we jump off here?
I just wanted to give you guys just another chance. If there's anything else you want to say before we head out, you can go ahead and do that.
No, I just want to thank y'all again.
Darn.
We can hear him.
You still hear us?
Yeah, well, we can hear you.
Good, at least.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just wanted to say thank you to, again, and everybody on, just for having the conversation, allowing us to come and give our perspective. We don't speak for, the entire Black race, but these have been our personal experiences, and we try to share those as best we could, and also enlighten you guys on, our perspective, our journey, just as Black wedding videographers and filmmakers. And so I just want to say thanks to you two as well. And if anybody has any questions, they can feel free to reach out to us, and we'll answer them as honestly and truthfully as we can. Our heart is for creatives. Our heart are for entrepreneurs, for family, and we feel really, really, how do we feel? We feel like our faith is really important as well. So we always want to try to include that as well. So thank you two for the time.
You're quite welcome.
I would say, my DMs are open. If you listen to this or watch this and you have questions, or you're just curious about something, or you just want some input, like if you come with a genuine heart, then I'll be I can be genuine. If you come with hatred, then you're gonna get blocked. And so let's not just leave this conversation at Blackout Tuesday, or just once the new episode of the podcast is up, let's continue the conversation.
Yeah, I think if you've gotten through this whole entire episode, you've done the hard work. You've listened in on some hard conversations and questions, and I would say take it a next step, turn off the podcast, and go out there and really try to diversify not just your portfolio, but your life in general.
Yeah,
awesome.
Great. Well, thank you guys so much for opening up and sharing today. We appreciate you all taking the time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us, guys.
Thanks.
Well, I want to say thank you to Josh and Kariss and Matthew and Britley for being on the podcast this week. We hope that it was very enlightening for you. We hope that you learned something. We hope that you can take the stuff that you heard and impact your life and impact the community around you. Thanks so much for listening to the How to Film Weddings podcast. And until next time, we'll see you.